Trunks is stuck in the past, seemingly with no way home. While he's here, he can at least train with the others and grow stronger himself too. A few years have already passed and he's still here, so what's gonna happen now? We'll be seeing all that and more in the second part of What If Trunks Was Trapped in the Past. The day finally arrives, with the android showing up in a city. Of course, the group is prepared thanks to Trunks. There's still no Vegeta in sight. He had already left the planet to train out in space, and it seems like he's coming back soon enough. But for now, it seems like they do have enough people. They go around the city looking for the androids. One of the groups is Gohan, Trunks, and Piccolo. And after a few minutes of looking, they are able to come across one of the androids. At least, what seems to be one of the androids. Trunks doesn't realize it at first, until they watch the guy kill someone. The reason Trunks doesn't realize this is because this isn't the android that he fought in the future. He knows about androids 17 and 18, but there seems to be another android here. Immediately he goes Super Saiyan, ready to fight this android. Gohan and Piccolo jump in alongside him, with Gohan also going Super Saiyan. Over the past few years of training, he has been able to unlock this form. This is mainly thanks to Trunks' input because he knows how future Gohan was able to unlock it, plus the fact that his training went a little different in general. The issue is he has a really poor control on the form, but still, it's better than nothing. He and Trunks together are actually more than enough to take on Android 20, because Android 20 doesn't even know who Trunks is. So both of them are equally confused. Trunks has no idea who Android 20 is, and vice versa. Also, he's surprised to see Gohan and Piccolo that strong. Trunks asks where 17 and 18 are. He knows there's supposed to be two other androids. He's going to try to get as much info out of Jiro as possible, but amidst the battle, they knock off his hat and see an actual brain underneath there. Something is weird about this android. The other two, they just seem like modified humans. This guy seems way less human than the other two, at least in Trunks' eyes. 20 has no clue how he knows about 17 and 18 because they're not activated yet. He even lets this slip, asking Trunks how he knows. This at least puts Trunks at ease because, judging by this android's reaction, they haven't been activated yet. 20 tries his best to escape. He's going to activate them. But Trunks decides it's best to finish this off quickly, so he and Gohan kill Android 20 together. Meanwhile, on another side of the city, Goku's fighting Android 19. It's a pretty easy battle for him too. And right when he's about to finish Android 19 off, a blast comes in from above. It's Vegeta. Now also in Super Saiyan, he just returned. Looks like he got here a little bit late. He hopes there's still an android left to fight, but it seems like there isn't. It was just those two. Alright, well, where's Trunks then? Because he has a score to settle with Trunks. The time traveler one specifically. Of course, by now he realizes who Trunks is. He still hasn't seen his version of Trunks. But it didn't take long for him to put 2 and 2 together because the pieces are right there. Trunks is close with Capsule Corp and Future Bulma somehow. He's at least part Saiyan. And while Vegeta hasn't seen him much, that's probably a tell that he didn't want to interact with Vegeta for some reason. At least now everyone's caught up to speed. And there's no need for Trunks to hide his identity anymore. But still, Vegeta's pretty pissed off. Everything's annoying to him, especially with the fact that Trunks has been avoiding him this entire time, even though Vegeta wanted to fight him. He never got to see his true power. And he does realize why Trunks avoided him, but still, they have a score to settle. Everyone regroups, and Trunks, Gohan, and Piccolo explain what they saw. That should be it, both the androids are defeated, but Trunks sees the remains of Android 19, and confirms to the others that Android 17 and 18 are still out there, although it seems like they haven't been activated yet. Goku mentions that the android he fought, he seemed to be completely robotic. As for the one Trunks and Gohan fought, he seemed to be somewhat human. He talked like a person, and he had a human brain. And the one they were fighting seemed to hint that he was going to activate the other two androids. Maybe he was the guy behind it all. Which is good because that means the androids aren't activated, but also at the same time it means they don't know where exactly they are because they had to kill Jiro. And they don't know who Dr. Jiro is, they just know Android 20. Maybe Bola can help with that. But before they do any of that, Vegeta decides to have a fight with Trunks. Trunks says now's not the time. But Vegeta says it sounds like a perfect time to him. He just got back, they're both done with their training, and there's no androids to deal with right now. If the other two aren't activated, why worry? They need to settle this here. And at least from what Trunks knows about Vegeta, he's not going to calm down until he gets his fight, so reluctantly, he decides to fight Vegeta. And Vegeta says not to hold anything back. He's a Super Saiyan as well now, so there's no need for that. The two go far outside the city with everyone else watching. Piccolo and Krillin think this is kind of stupid. They should really just go and find the other androids. They don't really need to watch Vegeta lose a fight. They know Trunks is probably going to win here. Goku and Gohan stay back, but Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Krillin, and Piccolo leave. They're going to give Bulma all the info they have. Also, they're going to inspect whatever remains of Jiro, trying to at least figure out his identity. Vegeta and Trunks both fight in Super Saiyan, at full power. Trunks still hasn't gone beyond Super Saiyan. None of them have. He and Goku were working on trying to go beyond it, but they still haven't unlocked it completely yet. Trunks has a way better control in Super Saiyan than Vegeta does. Mainly because he's had it for way longer, and he's been training with Goku for it, getting a lot of his knowledge too. Plus, Trunks is just physically stronger here. Vegeta has grown significantly, and it's not an easy battle for Trunks, but he is able to win here. Asking Vegeta if he's finally happy now. They're not going to fight again. They shouldn't be wasting time doing this. He's sure Vegeta at least knows by now who he is. And that explains why he never wanted to interact with Vegeta. He didn't want to mess up the chance of him being born here, mainly because he didn't know how that would affect him, even though they're separate timelines. But Vegeta says none of that matters now. He just wanted to test his power against his own. He's frustrated that he lost, but deep down he's actually kind of happy because it's his own son that beat him. That shows that his version of Trunks can at least grow strong too. If he's losing to anyone, at least it's someone who's his own flesh and blood. Still proving his own superiority in a way. He also comes to learn that Gohan just got Super Saiyan. All the more reason to get Trunks to grow stronger so he could surpass Kakarot's son, not realizing the crazy latent power Gohan has. Thanks to some help from Bulma, she's able to figure out who Android 20 was. Well, at least she assumes she knows who he is. And it makes sense. A famous Red Ribbon scientist, Red Ribbon androids, it fits together. Now they just need to find his lab, which does take a bit of time. But it's not like the androids will be activated anyways, unless they're on a timed activation or something. So finding them isn't too urgent, but still, they shouldn't really waste any more time, because who knows, maybe they'll just activate automatically. After some searching, they're eventually able to find Dr. Gero's lab, and Trunks looks through all the androids there. There's a couple projects that seem to be scrapped, including one named Android 16 who seems to be finished, but he immediately points out Android 17 and 18. Those are the ones from his timeline. Bulma looks over the blueprints and figures out that these two are actually cyborgs, modified humans that were kidnapped by Gero. They haven't been activated yet at all. And Android 20, the one that they fought before, that was actually Gero. He placed his brain in the body of a robot. Android 19 was purely mechanical. So this really explains everything to them. But they also make sure to look for Cell because they know of Cell here, and they're able to find a secret entrance to another part of the lab where Cell remains. Just thinking of Cell makes Trunks sick. He's the whole reason Trunks is stuck here in the first place. So he does the honors and destroys Cell, blowing up the secret part of the lab and the rest of it too. But before he does so, they take Android 17 and 18 out of the lab as well as all the info they can get on them. This will actually be helpful for Trunks if he can go back to his timeline, which is kind of a long shot right now. But still, they know a way to deactivate the androids at least, and Trunks could use this if he ever goes back. But also, these androids haven't done anything yet. Trunks is still worried, especially because they're running rampant in his timeline. They destroyed all the other androids, but it doesn't feel right destroying these two because they're kind of innocent right now. They're victims of Gero. For all everyone knows, they could be completely different than the androids in Trunks' timeline. Things already did go differently. Look at the two other androids that showed up. And look at Cell too. These androids haven't done anything yet, and if they were activated, maybe they'd act differently. From Gero's notes, Bulma could see that they weren't necessarily the best at listening to Gero either. So she does the right thing and just reprograms them. Trunks is a little bit worried, but he goes along with it. He trusts Bulma's judgment. And she still is looking on a way to get Trunks back to his timeline. She has the time machine and all the info about it. They even have it fueled up, so if they want to send it somewhere, they can. The issue is, she can't figure out a surefire way to get Trunks back to his timeline. For all she knows, if she puts him aboard this time machine, she'll send Trunks to another timeline with no way back. It's the same exact concerns that were discussed in the last part. She doesn't know what would happen, Trunks doesn't know what would happen, and they don't necessarily want to take that risk, especially if it means Trunks might not be able to get back here. There's a slim chance he can go back to his timeline, but there's a greater chance he'll just get stuck somewhere, and then he'd have no way to get back to this specific timeline, which means he'd have to start over everything again because he'd be in a new timeline with new people who he's never met before. And that's if it even ends up working. They're trying everything they can here, but for the time being, the best option is just for Trunks to stay here, and things have gone fine with that. The androids are gone here, everything's been avoided. Goku's alive, he didn't get the heart virus. He might not be able to make it back to his timeline, maybe never, but he saved this one. Bulma says he should be proud to at least have saved them. He still has done something good, and as Bulma speaking, she feels like her future self would be happy about this too. She would know herself better than anyone. Trunks is still really frustrated about all of this because it's all Cell's fault. Without Cell, maybe this would have never happened. Him time traveling did all of this. But at the same time, Bulma's creation of the time machine in general caused all of this. They don't know how many other timelines exist. There's at least 3 others that they know of. The one Trunks came from, the one that Cell came from, and whatever timeline the Trunks and Cell's timeline travel to. There could be countless others, she doesn't know for sure. That's what happens when they mess with time. Her future self must have been really desperate. They didn't know what they were dealing with. Trunks also meets his current self by this time, and he asks how long Bulma's known about his identity. Well, she suspected it, but didn't realize it was Trunks until he was born. She didn't let his existence affect her because she didn't know who Trunks was for sure. But it looks like this was meant to happen with Vegeta anyways. Following everything with the androids, Trunks stays with Bulma, as well as his present self, with Vegeta eventually living with them too. It's kind of a weird arrangement because Vegeta and Bulma kind of have 2 kids now, even though they're the same person. Trunks is also an adult by now too, so he even gets a job at Capsule Corp and just adjusts to society here. It looks like he might be stuck here. It's a shame he won't get to go back to his timeline, and he won't get to see his version of Bulma. He still thinks about it every day. He would love to go back there. He wants to make everything right. He's still worried about everything. Maybe it's all gone already. Maybe the androids already destroyed everything. But maybe there's still hope. And he always has that little bit of hope with him. But he also can't help but think about the worst case scenario. He's comfortable and happy here, but he still wants to go back home. This isn't his true home, and Bulma could tell that Trunks feels like that. She wants to make him feel like he's welcome here, like this is his home. She honestly thinks he's not going to make it back to his timeline. It's not her being pessimistic, she's just being realistic. And it does mess with Trunks a bit. Also, they kind of have to come up with an explanation of who Trunks is because no one can explain who he is or where he came from. He just popped into existence one day. Some random guy working at Capsule Corp with the same name as Bulma's new kid, and also looking kind of similar to Bulma's new kid. Nobody knows what to think about it. They simply just refer to Trunks as a long-lost brother. hence a similar appearance, the fact that Bulma's own kid is named after him, and eventually he meets Tights too, and she goes along with this. They just have to pretend Trunks is their younger brother. That's the easiest way to explain everything. But for all their friends, they at least know the truth behind it. And as present Trunks grows up too, he doesn't even find it that weird. And he gets told the truth eventually too, realizing that it's another version of him. He finds it kinda cool and just views future Trunks as an older brother. Goten's eventually born too. And of course, Trunks remains close with Gohan. Both Trunkses actually. One of the good things here is he gets to spend more time with Gohan. All that time that he lost due to Gohan dying in the future, he gets that back here. He gets to pay it forward. His best friend, his former master. He knows this isn't the same Gohan, but up to a certain point they did have the same upbringing. And he can see a lot of future Gohan within this Gohan too. He's especially happy that this Gohan gets to live out his dream and gets to have an actual life, not spending it constantly at war, and not having it cut short by the androids. We get to the end of the time skip and eventually to the World Tournament. We have the same exact roster for the tournament, including Android 18 as well. We'll say she still meets Krillin. Only difference is, Trunks is part of the tournament here. He's never been part of a tournament, and Goku's really excited to show him what a tournament's like. Trunks never had one of these in his timeline. He's heard about them, but none were held that he could take part in. So it sounds like it could be fun at first, until the tournament gets interrupted. We get to Gohan's fight with Kibito. By the way, we'll say all the same Saiyan stuff happens. Mr. Satan is still a world champ, but he's not revered as the same hero that he was in the main story because none of the stuff with Cell happened. Still, he's really famous, and so is Videl. Biggest difference is that Satan City is not Satan City. He's still a world-renowned martial artist though. Anyways, back to this fight. Gohan faces off against Kibito, and shows off Super Saiyan 2. He unlocked this pretty early on over the time skip. Goku was actually the first to get it, and then the rest of them followed. Goku was specifically interested to see what type of power Gohan had locked away, and Trunks really wanted to see it too. Even as a kid, he already surpassed his future self by a lot. And this Gohan didn't even have the time chamber training. He had Goku alive during this whole time skip, plus he had Trunks there to help him too. I think it's safe to say he'd grow significantly as a fighter. And thanks to Trunks, he's continued his training too. Spopovich and Yamu attack. But before they make it into the ring, Trunks is able to stop one of them, with Vegeta then grabbing the other. Unfortunately for Trunks, this means he gets stabbed by the device taking his ki. Shin then quickly turns over to Trunks, freezing him in place too, allowing Spopovich and Yamu to steal some energy from him. Trunks then quickly powers up trying to break free of this because he doesn't know who's paralyzing him, showing off his own Super Saiyan 2. This is a double-edged sword. It helps him break free, but at the same time, it gives a little bit more energy to Spopovich and Yamu. Not a ton because he wasn't powered up completely, and it was only for a brief moment, but still. It also terrifies Spopovich and Yamu, so they leave immediately, going back to Babidi. They weren't sure how much he has in comparison to Gohan, but still, this is a pretty good amount of energy they got. They just wish he wasn't in base for most of it. Of course, Babidi watches on from afar, seeing everything that happens at the tournament. Trunks seems to be a good target for energy. He wonders what he should do next, because whatever Spopovich and Yamu got, it's definitely not enough for Boo. They still have a ways to go before they could revive Boo. With Babidi deciding what to do next, this is where we'll leave off for now. What do you guys think about this part, and what's going to happen next? Leave any thoughts or ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help with the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.